Hi, welcome to another episode of Behind the White Picket Fence, where life is both messy and beautiful. I interviewed Jessica Scattolon in this episode from AlterEgo Health, a virtual menopause servicing women across British Columbia. Jessica is a wealth of information on perimenopause and postmenopause. She is an educator and she is passionate about what she does. And she helped open the door to a conversation that women are finally starting to have. Menopause is 1/3 of your life. What you do today matters greatly for the trajectory of the rest of your time. So take care of yourself, prioritize your health, and choose you. As mothers, we don't often do that. So lean in, enjoy this episode. I will leave a link to her website and a few other resources for you on everything to do with menopause, everything to do with making sure you're taking care of yourself and taking time to lean in and listen to your body and listen to the symptoms you're having and to treat those symptoms. No one needs to suffer during this time in their lives. I hope you enjoyed this episode as much as I enjoyed recording it. Okay, Jessica, I'm so glad to have you on because it's just the new hot topic, menopause, menopause, menopause. Every mom I know who is in my age category is saying, I think I'm in menopause, like what is going on, like help. So I'm so welcome because we need your help.
Thank you. It's so great to be here.
Yeah, and I just wanted to get you on here to help us weed through like how do we even know we're in menopause other than that we're getting older and we've got some weird symptoms where we don't know what it is, if that's it, like how do we know? Can we start there?
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? It's so true because a lot of the time women are in perimenopause and they don't even know.
Right.
So, just to quickly kind of let you know that perimenopause is the stage before you reach menopause.
Okay.
And once you reach menopause, it's sort of this one-day event. And so
Right.
12-month anniversary of your period. And then every day after is postmenopause.
Okay.
So we're kind of in this menopausal state
Right.
for a third of our life.
Oh my gosh, that is a long time.
It's a really long time. And so when you know that you're in perimenopause, unless you know kind of what to look out for, you might not even recognize it.
Okay.
And so the first physical sign is when you get a change in your period.
Okay.
And so it can be as simple as your periods are getting closer together. Instead of 28 days, they're now 21 days, or they're getting longer. The actual heaviness, it could be heavier, they could be lighter. As long as there's a change, even if it stays consistent,
Okay.
the change is the first kind of indicator.
Sign. Okay.
Yeah.
So look for change in your menstrual cycle.
Exactly.
Sign number one.
Yeah, that means things are shifting.
Okay. Times are changing.
Times are changing.
Okay. Oh goodness.
And then from there, it really is, kind of just keeping in touch with your body and how you're feeling, like there's a whole range of symptoms and, I have a ton of them on my website.
Right.
But the basic ones, people always go to hot flashes. And to be honest, that is what usually happens near the end of perimenopause.
Okay.
And it can continue in postmenopause.
Right.
Depends. But there are things like brain fog, memory issues, body odor.
Right.
There's of course, like your mood can change. You can I was bumping into walls myself, which I thought I didn't know what was happening.
Right.
Why I was bumping into walls. And that, before I started AlterEgo, I realized and did some research and like, that's actually one of the symptoms
One of
too.
the signs. Well, and I think some of the things you're listing is hard to tease out a million other reasons why you might have brain fog or some of those symptoms, because when you're in motherhood, you're in it, you're busy, you're day to day, you're, I always call it pillar to post, you're go, 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 and you've got these symptoms and you don't necessarily know where they might be coming from or why they're happening. But I think one of the biggest things is, are we even paying attention? Are we taking the time out of our day to check in? How are we doing? What is happening and why might it be happening?
It's so true. I think that, as mothers and just, women in general at this age, there's so much on our shoulders
Right.
and so much on our plate.
So much.
And it's really, really, it is hard to decipher, and I think that that's what happens a lot of the time, is that
Right.
it sort of gets sort of chalked up as being, oh, I'm just, I'm stressed because I have all these things that I'm doing, or I'm not sleeping well because, I've been up earlier, I'm burning the candle at both ends. But really your body is kind of giving you this like tap on the shoulder and saying, hey, there's some things going on and we need to get things checked out.
Right, because I think one of the things we had talked about, off camera, and whenever I have a question about menopause, you're my first go-to. And, it does seem to be finally getting the attention it deserves. I think for many years, it was just sort of, well, that's it, that's the change in life, and no one was really talking about it the way it's being talked about today. But I do think we aren't listening, like the taps on the shoulder could be attributed to, I have 3 boys, and 3 boys is a busy life, and I'm exhausted. Well, who isn't exhausted? Whose sleep isn't disrupted? So it's hard to tease out. But I think, and tell me what you think, it could be maybe that taking that time, recognizing your age, looking for those changes, to really pay attention to what's happening for you as you enter this area of your life, or this stage of your life. And I think parents are so busy, we're not doing that.
We're not, and I think as caregivers, we often put ourselves last on the list as well. We're taking our kids to the doctor and to the dentist and to their sports and to their, activities, and we're taking care of our parents, we're taking care of our spouses, and, we're not necessarily taking care of ourselves because we are just kind of accustomed to always just dealing and making it through. But educating yourself and knowing what's happening or what is about to happen, then you can start to sort of double click when you see things that are kind of prolonged. The 3 kind of main kind of overarching concerns and what issues arise is around sex, sleep, and stress.
Okay.
Those are kind of the big ones.
Talk to me about those, all of them. I want to know, because I think you're right. Like, I think one of the things we touched on right away is, number 1, waking up and paying attention to symptoms, but number 2, educating yourself. And so tell me, like, you mean sleep, stress, like all the sex, like talk to me about each of those, because I think women want to know, and they want to get educated and learn and know, okay, if I'm going to listen, what am I listening for? What am I watching for? So can you break those down for us?
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is to really just try and pay attention to what is happening in your body, and not to ignore when things are bothersome. Like when you go through life and things are recurring, you have to pay attention. Something is going on. And so, and we're so hard on ourselves too, because we just expect that we should be, functioning at this high level all the time. But, if you are, I mean, everyone goes to hot flashes, right? Like that's sort of like this quintessential, and that is something that happens later in your period, and so, or sorry, later in perimenopause and sometimes into postmenopause. But when it comes to even issues around sex, like you may not be in the mood anymore. It might be painful. You're not sleeping well, and so that's attributing to it too. So the host of symptoms around just the issues that can come around sex alone, vaginal dryness, not sleeping because of night sweats or hot flashes, high cortisol levels, thyroid out of balance. When those things are going on, like, of course, you're not going to have the desire and you're not going to be in the mood. And there's so much to learn about all of those different aspects. And we have a blog post on our website around sex itself, because we tend to blame ourselves, right?
I hear this all the time.
Right? We're not in the mood, and it's like, but how do you sometimes tell your partner, like, it kind of hurts now, it didn't hurt before, and you don't know why, or whatever the different reasons are, there's generally a root cause
Right.
that can be dealt with and you can treat.
And I think we forget, like we lose naturally when we're raising children, we often lose a connection to our spouse, we're busy, we're in it, we're kind of going day to day, and then this happens and it's just another disconnection.
I know.
When humans are wired to be connected to each other, and intimacy is a huge part of a marriage, and to have it go sideways because of menopause and to not pay attention to it is just not going to help us in any way, and people aren't talking about it.
No, and I wish people were a bit more open about it, because I think they would discover that other women are going through it too.
Right.
Like, all of these are so normal.
We're not
and
alone.
No one's alone, but no one's also going through the same thing either, you know?
Right.
I might have issues and symptoms from the estrogen withdrawal or the estrogen decline that you might not have, but we're all going through something. And it's all impacting our relationship with ourselves, our relationship with our partners, and sometimes our relationship with our kids.
For
you know?
sure.
You know, before I was able to kind of get my, mood and outburst sort of under wraps, because it was kind of going a little bit haywire there.
Yeah.
Before I went and saw Christine, our naturopath, that really changed how I was able to show up for my kids
Okay.
and try and be a better mother and try and be calmer and not flip out over everything, because everything was flip out worthy.
Right, of course. I feel that way
Right.
on any given day, and
Right.
like it's like another layer. I think
It
it's this extra layer that we don't talk about that's here now and happening to so many of us while we're still parenting, and we're having kids a little bit older. So I'm sort of noticing that perimenopause lines up with teenagers and some of the stresses teenagers bring. And if everyone's, as we know, teenagers can be moody themselves. And if everyone's feeling that way, it's hard to build that connected relationship that you want to have with your children as well. And, I think that it's time that we pay attention to our bodies and we start to recognize, okay, well, maybe that is a symptom of perimenopause, and maybe I should go get some help and start to advocate for ourselves, because not only do we not prioritize ourselves, what I'm saying is, okay, not only do I want you to do that, and I want you to go do something about it. Go and help yourself, because there is help. And can you talk to us about some of that? What is available to us, and why aren't women going and getting it?
It's really interesting. Like, it almost feels like a lot of the people that come through our virtual clinic, it's like they've kind of waited till they hit rock bottom.
Okay.
Until like it's so bad that they can't deal with it anymore.
Right.
And it's so unfortunate, because it's like unnecessary suffering.
Right.
Because the earlier you start to treat symptoms, the earlier you kind of recognize that there's changes going on, allow yourself to realize that it's okay that these are happening and there's something I can do about it, then you can actually take action. And so, our clinic, because we are virtual,
Right.
we are able to see anyone across BC, which is number one.
It's amazing.
Really amazing, because
It's amazing.
to be able to find a menopause specialist is actually quite difficult. There's not a lot out there. And a lot of times people will go to the doctors and they're not necessarily walking out with great experiences. They don't feel heard, they don't feel understood, they don't feel supported. There are some really great doctors out there, and that's amazing. But I think what we specialize in is that you can come and have this sort of holistic view of what's going on.
Right.
You will sit and talk with our naturopathic doctor for an hour. And you are going to be able, well, it is, because you have all of these different things going on. You need to be able to see how all those dots connect.
Right.
And how they interact with each other. And then they can put a treatment plan together for you so that you can address them all holistically. And then you're kind of supported along the way to see, and as things kind of get better and as things change, because we're in perimenopause and postmenopause for a third of our life. right? There are a lot of changes that happen, especially in perimenopause and in the first few years of postmenopause, that we need to stay in touch with, and we need to know that those shifts are gonna happen. It's not sort of like, okay, here's your treatment plan,
right, go to top. If it's a third of your life, you're going to need to do check-in, and keep on top of it.
I mean, myself, this past year, I've had sort of what I started with my treatment plan, and then I had to like make some adjustments, and then I've recently gone on hormone therapy, and it's been amazing, right? And so
Game changer.
it is such a game changer,
Right.
and you know, we're able to sort of look at the whole holistic view, and we can prescribe anything from hormone therapy to supplements and sort of more natural lifestyle pieces. And what I love the most about that for women is that you are then empowered to make your health decisions based on what you value.
Right.
You know, like you might want to start holistic, and you know, which is, you know, the path I took was like, well, I have some of these symptoms, they're bothersome, I need to address them. But I knew, because I had educated myself, that I wasn't quite ready for hormone therapy. But I started having the conversation with our doctor so that I was sort of prepared. She was, you know, knowing that it was something that I was thinking about, and then it eventually moved to that. But I felt in control of that process, and I was able to see the progress and the changes
The
and
unfolding of it, and you knew you could make some educated choices for yourself because you were, and I think too, your naturopath would know what to ask or where to inquire when you have that, you know, that meeting, that hour-long, you know, discussion about your health and where you're at, that maybe someone else wouldn't know to ask those questions. Another healthcare provider might not inquire, or might brush off a symptom because they don't know that it's part of perimenopause or postmenopause.
well, and the thing is that because we specialize just in the menopause transition,
Right.
so perimenopause to postmenopause, we're very focused, and our doctor's very educated on menopause specifically.
Exactly.
So it's not just sort of that she's familiar with hormones, but she also has the training from the North American Menopause Society, and so she knows kind of the very most current research and science-backed, you know, information on treatments, and whether it's hormonal or not hormonal.
Right.
So you're really kind of getting someone who knows menopause deeply, and that really makes a lot of difference, because the conversation it changes.
Well, and anything we do, we want to go to the specialist. Tell me who knows the most, tell me where to find the best science, tell me who has the most comprehensive approach. But something you said to me that I wanted to bring up today, because it really impacted me, and I wanted to just share some of this with our listeners. You said, you know, what choices you make today in this earlier, like the perimenopause stage and leading through this, will impact you for the rest of your life. You're setting the stage going forward for even, you know, past your post-menopause stage, or maybe we're always in post.
You're always in post.
We're always in post. You're setting yourself up for success. Like what you do today greatly matters for the future. And can you talk about that? I mean, I know one of the things you said is you've got to start doing some weight training because there's a bone density loss. And can you just talk about that? Because I think there is a little bit of an urgency not to ignore it. And I think women aren't listening to that urgent call, you know, that urgent call to pay attention to the subject and to treat it, because if you don't, you could have a long lasting impact. And if you ignore it, it could change the direction and the trajectory of your later years.
It is true, you know, how the decisions you make during perimenopause and into your first, you know, 10 years of postmenopause really is going to set you up for the rest of your life, because there is a window of opportunity for when you're supposed to start hormone therapy.
Okay.
And that is within 10 years of being postmenopausal. And this is assuming, of course, hormone therapy is only works if you don't have any, any issues with being able to take it.
Right.
So, the biggest thing that women don't know is that when you hit postmenopause, your estrogen goes on a very steep decline.
Okay.
And what that means is that you're losing the hormone that protects you the most.
Okay.
And the hormone that, really kind of provides all the moisture into your body.
Okay.
So not only is it impacting your, your skin, like we always talk about, like, oh, like my hair loss and my skin,
Right.
it's like, it will cause vaginal dryness. That will happen.
Okay.
You are going to lose 20% of your bone density in the first 5 years of postmenopause, and so hormone therapy has, is known to also be very protective for your brain health, and so your bone health, your vaginal health, all of that.
It's all of it.
And your cardiovascular health, which is really important too.
Okay.
So in perimenopause, when you have the opportunity to really shore up your health, then you're entering into this phase of life, setting yourself up for success. So strength training, like lift heavy shit.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
get a lot, build up your muscle, and it'll build up your bone density, and that will help carry you through, because what then happens in postmenopause is you don't want to lose it.
Okay.
So that becomes like maintaining what you got.
Okay.
So we need to build what we can
now.
And then protect what you have later.
For after. Okay.
Yeah.
This is so helpful. Thank you so much. Is there anything else that you want to share that you think our listeners would benefit from knowing other than this? I mean, we've done a really good job of unpacking it, but is there anything else you think that we should know or know of before we wrap up?
I think the biggest thing is just educate yourself. There's some great places to do that. You can go to the Menopause Foundation of Canada. You can go to the North American Menopause Society.
Okay.
Which they're now called the Menopause Society. They changed their name.
Okay.
There's also a local, but within Canada, Facebook called the Menopause Chicks, and Shirley Weir is extremely knowledgeable for education. And she just really is phenomenal. I'm a big fan of hers.
Okay.
And I can call her a friend because we've been spending a lot of time connecting over menopause.
Yeah.
The second is don't ignore. Don't wait until it's terrible.
Okay.
Just start treating it as soon as you notice changes. And go and see menopause specialists. You can, come and see us.
Yeah.
And the last thing, the most important thing, is just be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
We
So
expect
true.
so much from ourselves, and it's so easy to just, get caught up in like, I'm not doing this, I'm not doing that. And
Right.
we need to be kind to ourselves. We need to recognize that we're not functioning at our highest right now, when we're going through this stage. And until you can get treatments to help you, kind of shore all of that up, it's going to be a bit of a struggle. And so just give yourself a break.
Be kind.
And
I
be
know.
kind to
Be loving
yourself.
to yourself. That's such good advice. It's so true. We're
Yeah.
so hard on ourselves. We expect so much. We set the standards to be way too high.
Yeah.
And here's the greatest thing about your clinic. You can just book a free consult. So there's nothing wrong with, calling you guys just to start, just as a place to start, to say, okay, talk to me about it, because I think it feels like something we're not used to doing. I don't know if we saw our mothers do this. I don't think
No way we did.
So we didn't. So we're kind of the first generation of women to take charge of our own health and to make that call. And a clinic like yours saying, listen, we offer a free consult. All you have to do is call us, and we can just at least get you rolling on what you think you might want to do and how you might want to handle it, which is so lovely. Yeah. So thank you so much for coming on. It's been so great having you. I cannot wait to air this podcast because I think so many people are going to benefit from hearing you and your expertise in this area. So thank you.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Always.